Hi there, and welcome to the virtual RobotDogMusic booth at Kansai Festival of Modular 2020. This is Radar up here, and I'm Jason. Together we are RobotDogMusic, on Instagram, RobotDogMusic, all one word, and of course RobotDogMusic.com as well. Last year we decided to take on the challenge of kind of leveling up from DIY builder guy to a full-fledged Eurorack manufacturer and brand. Taking my hacking projects and making them more robust, navigating the whole process of actually manufacturing, having things manufactured, has been a tremendous learning experience, especially doing it this year. But I'd like to bring everybody up to speed on where we are and what we've got coming. So we've been working on a lot of interesting things in the RobotDogMusic labs, but if you remember for Online Superbooth 2020, we announced products that are going forward are the LIGO, which is LFOs in, gates out logic module, YASF, which is a stereo transistor ladder filter, kind of in the Moog style, with both CV attenuation and attenuversion on the inputs as well as normals across to take mono into stereo territory. And then of course in the GAG gift category, we had Uni, which is a very, very mini unicorn boom in 4 HP. All of these, we're working on the final aesthetic of the brand, and then once that's done, the aluminum faceplates will be manufactured and then we'll be ready to go. So these are all electrically complete and finished. Today, however, I'd like to announce something new. Last year in Tokyo, at the Tokyo Festival of Modular, I was talking to some folks and I was called out for saying that the 1U space was underutilized. And we have all these lovely utility modules that come into the 1U space, but I think there's a better way. And so I'm going to try to add some more flair and interest into the 1U module. So now, starting today, we're announcing that we will have a series of 1U performance style modules coming from RobotDogMusic, and the first one I'd like to talk to you about is Solo. Solo is the ribbon strip controller I've always wanted. It takes a CV and gate input, processes them, and then gives you a CV and gate output to move on to the rest of your system. But in processing them, you can do a whole lot. The CV, incoming CV, can be quantized or not. You can take your ribbon strip input and add it to that CV, giving you a transpose effect, or you can have it replace that CV, allowing you to solo over an existing sequence. And then when you let go, it goes back to the sequence that it was playing before. Solo can be configured to respect your gate pattern when changing input on the touch strip so that you're never changing pitch at the wrong time. And there are 2 additional function buttons which can be configured for various features, like legato mode, which will keep your gate high, or the generation mode, which will try to intelligently add gates to your existing sequence and make it more staccato. But that's enough talking about it. Let's get some patches started and you can see what it does. So I'm really excited to introduce to you the kind of primary mode for Solo. It was built as a way to dress up and solo over your sequences. So this is a patch that I posted to Instagram last week. Of course, I was being all cloak and dagger at the time. You couldn't see the bottom of the case because I was being all secretive with my toys. But it's a very simple sequence, 2 CV channels running on the XOR Electronics NerdSeek here. CV1 comes out and goes into this solo here, which then goes off to control the Moxynth Wave Razor pitch. And that oscillator is going out to the 3-tom modular Steve's MS-22 filter, and then on to the Erica Synth's DIY digital delay and out. And then the second CV sequence is actually multipled, and the first branch of that multiple is going to the Acid Rain Chainsaw CV1. This is something I like to do. If you know how Chainsaw works, it actually has 3 CV inputs for 3 separate digital VCOs, so you can build chords. But what I like to do is run the basic sequence here through that VCO1, and then the second branch of that multiple is running into this second solo, and goes off to the CV input 2 on the chainsaw. And then the chainsaw comes out, goes into YASF, which is the RobotDogMusic stereo transistor ladder filter, and off to the Erica Synth's DSP, Pico DSP in a reverb kind of mode. So if I turn on the sequence here, make sure the levels aren't too high so I'm not getting blown out, and you can still hear me. Simple sequence does what it's supposed to do, and the solos are completely transparent at this point. They don't do anything. Their CV is just going off, and the sequence is playing as it was designed. But if you start touching the ribbon straps, you override those CV inputs and then get the quantized output from the ribbon strip instead. And so it's a very tactile, like a visceral way to interact with your modular and dress up what would normally be a really kind of generic standard sequence. I also have the gate pattern being processed through this solo. So if I press the legato button down here, you get this kind of effect where it's holding the gate open and thus the filters. So you can keep that and you can hear it will still change the quantized notes at the appropriate time by using your gate pattern, but it's overriding that gate from going on to the rest of the system. It's just so much fun. I've gotten much less work done since I've actually gotten the firmware for this functional, and because it just invites you to touch and play, and I can't wait to see what other people are going to do with it. So let's check out something else. Okay, so I've rearranged the case a little bit. I wanted to give you a really good close look at what Solo is doing to the CV as it comes through and is processed. So what I've done is I've removed the big 1010 format modules, replaced with just a simple one voice, which is the Erica Synth's DIY bassline, and moved data down so we can get a nice tight shot of that. Solo is here. It's the only one involved right now, and our super simple sequence running on the NerdSeek that comes out, goes through data to show on the green trace. So that'll be CV, raw CV, and then the processed CV comes out, and that's on the second, the blue trace, and that goes on to the 1 volt per octave on the baseline. And then the gate comes out, it goes through the data on the red trace and comes out of the Solo and onto the yellow trace below, and then into the baseline. And so if I start that sequence, this is all we've got. Again, the top trace here is the raw CV coming out of the sequencer. The blue one here is the CV coming out of Solo. The red trace here is the gate pattern coming out of the NerdSeek, and the yellow one here is the gate coming out of Solo. So again, as we touch the strip, it just overrides that CV. And I'm in pentatonic minor scale because I'm a cheater. But if we can actually go into, that's how you get into the menu system. Just hold both octave down, all buttons down for a second. It pops in and out of menu. This remains live the entire time. You can sit here and audition different scales. And that'll always work no matter what. Unless you go into calibration mode is the only time it will stop processing. So it's always running in the background even while you're messing with settings, which is great for live performance because you don't ever want it to stop. So we'll go back to the main menu here. And as long as you know your sequence pretty well, you can noodle along right on top of that. But we can add some more gates in here and get some fun stuff going. like that. Again, this is a close-up of the actual CV. Let's bring the time scale down so you can see. And of course the legato function still works, but you can see it'll now hold that gate high. This is the raw sequence coming in, and if I press the legato button, it just goes high and stays there. Now baseline's behavior for that is that it lets the envelope peter out and will just sit and then wait for another rising edge. It only ever executes another envelope when it gets a rising edge. So if you hold it, it's going to sit there and disappear. Unless you have the So this next mode I'm working on emulates a particular vintage synthesizer that we all know and love. To demo this mode, I've got the Deckard's voice in here, which isn't something I normally put in my small case, and then the data, of course, so we can see what's going on. But thank you, Bob, and all the folks at Black Corporation for making these available, because it is fantastic and exactly what you would think it is. So what I've got here is an unquantized transposition mode, which basically emulates a particular touch strip from synths gone by. And it does pick the start point from wherever you touch it. So Radar's having a good time. We should have turned the camera on. It's exactly what this needs to make it just sound like what you want it to. But it's unbelievably fun mode. So yeah, unquantized. Let's do a really slow roll. You really don't hear those, any stepping, any aliasing, as far as I can tell. The ADCs and DACs in this are quite good. More of that's just my finger not being able to slide quite so. Quite so smoothly, but yeah, it's really smooth and eminently playable. We'll turn that off. Next. So that's Solo from Radar and myself here at RobotDogMusic. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. A couple other little details. Obviously the faceplates will not be 3D printed like this. We have proper aluminum faceplates done, and they will support both 1U formats. So whatever standard you have, don't worry, we've got you covered. Price point will be US $299, at least that's what we're targeting right now. Hopefully that will stick. And there will be a crowdfunding campaign going forward so that we know how many of these to actually make. If you want to get in on that early or want to be notified, go to the RobotDogMusic.com website and sign up for the mailing list. I abhor junk mail with a passion, so I will absolutely not abuse it and not sell your email address to anyone, but I do need a way to contact you to let you know when the campaign goes live. So RobotDogMusic.com, and just fill out the contact form and we'll get you on the mailing list. Thanks so much to the Kansai Festival of Modular, Mr. Sakaguchi, and all the rest, and the Tokyo folks as well, for putting on these tremendous events. I've been out of touch with so many of you and really miss it. So if I will have one of these in my case at all times. If you want to have a play, just ask, because the more feedback I can get, the better it's going to be at the end. But again, thank you for the Kansai Festival of Modular and Tokyo Festival of Modular guys for putting together such excellent events. Enjoy the rest of your show.